everyone, Adam here, So Was Your Podcast. I got to sit down with Jackey Jones and Willow Polson, two women behind the upcoming series Manos, the Debbie Chronicles. This is kind of a, I don't know if it's exactly a sequel, it's not a reimagining, but it's in the Manos Hands of Fate universe. As you know, Manos Hands of Fate is a cult classic. Mystery Science Theater 3000 took this movie to another level. Anyway, Jackey Jones was the original Debbie in Manos Hands of Fate. Sorry, the cat is interfering. Her family actually has their fingerprints all over that movie, which is kind of cool. We get into that a bit in this interview. And Willow Polson is a producer, writer, creator. She's going to be directing this, who linked up with Jackey, and the two decided that they wanted to do the Debbie Chronicles, which was a movie at one point, a series at one point, and they're just kind of putting this cool thing together where they're telling Debbie's story, what happened to Debbie out of Manos Hands of Fate, without it being a direct sequel, and they're having a lot of fun with the cult status that the movie had. Anyway, they're going to explain it a lot better than I am, especially as I'm being distracted by my cat. I do want to point out that they have a Kickstarter going on right now. Not a Kickstarter, sorry. They have a crowdfunding going on right now. Link is in the description. Please support it. It's a very cool sounding project, and the two have a lot of work invested in this, as we'll see in the interview. Hey everyone, Adam here, So Was Your Podcast. I'm sitting down with Willow Polson and Jackey Naaman Jones to talk about a new project they have coming out, Manos, the Debbie Chronicles. How are you both doing?
Doing well.
Yep. Good morning. It's nice and sunny here today.
Yeah, finally. Where are you located?
I'm near Yosemite, and Jackey.
Oh, I'm in Western Oregon, and it's raining.
Oh, it's raining?
No.
I couldn't really be further from you, Jackey. I'm in upstate New York, so I'm the total opposite side.
Wow, yes. I've never been
covered.
It's a nice area, but I'm ready for winter to be done, so it's nice that it's not, 5 degrees out right now.
Is that Celsius?
No,
Fahrenheit. All right, so this is a really interesting project. It's a unique one. Obviously, Manos Hands of Fate is like I don't even know if it's a cult classic, but I know it's a horror classic. People love that movie. I am a little embarrassed to admit that I have not seen it. It's one that's always been on my radar, and I just haven't gotten around to it, so I'm sorry in advance. But why don't you tell people first what your project is, and then how the idea came about?
Me first, or me first.
Okay.
Well, first, I highly recommend you see the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version. Don't try and watch it unriffed, because it's a grind. And I'm talking about the original Manos the Hands of Fate. It's bad. It's really bad, and that's why people know about it, is because of Mystery Science Theater 3000. But because it's so bad, it actually fell into public domain. So that's why we're able to kind of do whatever we want in that sandbox, right? And that's
interesting, because I was going to ask about that. It's like you're making a sequel to a movie that you don't have the IP for, but I guess that's irrelevant.
Everybody has the IP for it.
Right. Nice.
You can do whatever you want. I mean, there's been Manos the Hands of Felt puppet show. There's been Manos the Band of Fate. It's a band. So, people have been going.
Stage in Portland.
What's that?
There's been a comedy version created on stage in Portland that I got to be part of a few years back.
Nice.
Right. And Jackey also did Manos Returns a couple of years ago. So, I mean, there's been a number of projects out there. I kind of wanted a different take, okay, so there's Archie comics, and then there's Riverdale. I mean, there's that's the same IP, the same characters, but it's like a wildly different take on it. And that's kind of what I wanted to do, because I'm really inspired by Supernatural and Heroes and Army of Darkness, and so kind of horror, but kind of with some comedy too. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I am a huge fan of Supernatural, and especially the comedy episodes of Supernatural, the funny ones. And
right.
That's kind of what I'm trying to hit here. And I was blessed to be introduced to Jackey through a mutual friend, and we just hit it off great. And we're like, hey, let's do a thing, and it kind of went from there.
So if you don't mind me asking, what is your background? Is this just a passion project, or are you in development professionally?
Me? Again,
Willow, yeah, sorry. Sorry, Jackey. We'll get you involved.
She's in a comfy chair. She's fine. Very comfy chair. Yeah, I've been a producer since 2013. How many years is that? So like what, 8 years, I guess? I've been a writer forever. And, part of it was I wanted to do this last spring, and obviously reasons happened. So that didn't happen. But, it's kind of almost for the better, because it's forced me to kind of make it more lean and, kind of focus on, well, what kind of a story can I tell in these times? Minimal cast, minimal crew, minimal locations. I can actually film it here, Mariposa County. It's easy because A, I live here. B, film permits are super easy to get, and there's cool historic stuff. But yeah, I've been wanting my passion project actually involves one of the other characters that I brought in from my passion project, Mike Mason, who Debbie has an understanding with later on. But anyway, so I'm rambling now, but did that actually answer your question? I don't know. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, you're a writer producer by trade, so you're far into this.
Right.
And Jackey, you're an actress.
I'm a professional artist.
Okay.
By trade. I had almost a 30-year career doing high-end faux finish, like murals and marbling and texture treatments, and so very physical life and very creative. And but also I was very heavily into theater growing up with my dad, who played the master in the original film. And so I was very involved in theater. I love theater. And then when Manos took off and became the, in 2015, I think it was, or no. Well, anyway, Mystery Science Theater found it and put it on in 1993, and it became an instant hit. And then it became the all-time fan favorite, and then it became known as the worst movie ever made. In fact, there's a 7-page article in Playboy magazine that begins with my name. They interviewed. Which, on a side note, was hilarious because I'm a single mom of 2 boys, and my youngest son was in high school at that time. And when I got the copy of Playboy, I came and I showed it to him, the cover, with the title on the cover. And I go, "Look, honey, your mom was your mom's in Playboy magazine." And he went white.
Yeah.
1,000 people. I was head of the Arts Council, and I was on the school board. I knew everybody.
That's a great story. That is a great story.
It's for the articles.
Yeah, exactly. The one time that's true. Right?
It is for the article.
Oh, that's great. So
I don't know if I answered your question either.
Yeah, for sure. And that was a really good sidetrack anyway. So, so how did the Debbie Chronicles come about? Who was the first one?
Willow.
Yeah. It's there's no singular moment. It's kind of this evolving thing that has sort of come to where we are over the past couple of years, at least, I think. I mean, Jackey and I started talking and just talking. We were thinking about doing it as a comic book, and that didn't end up working out. And then I'm friends with somebody who was working on some of the comics for Heroes. That's how I know him. And he had some ideas. And so he came up with some interesting characters, and that kind of, been rolling it around for a little while. And Jackey actually came up with the name. We had a few ideas for what we should call it. And she was the one who picked, I like the Debbie Chronicles. And I'm like, then the Debbie Chronicles it is. So, so it's kind of been evolving. We were thinking, we'll make it a mini, not mini series, but like a short form web series of like, 15-minute episodes. And it's like, well, as long as we're doing that, why don't we film all of it at once? And then it's like, well, as long as we're doing that, it's like, yeah. So right now we're doing a 1-hour pilot. And if we get to the stretch goals, we'll do a mini-sode, which may show some origin stories of some of the characters. And then we'll go with 30-minute episodes after this point. I hope, ideally. I'm also pitching at a couple places, so we'll see what they want. So
nice. And Jackey, when this was brought to you, what was your initial reaction to it?
I thought it was a great idea. As people know, all these different projects, I've met the most amazing people and had the greatest experiences by getting involved in anything pretty much anybody asks me. I mean, there's a couple things maybe I wish I hadn't, but I'm not going to mention what they are. But there's a whole lot of stuff I've done that's fun. And once I met Willow, and especially seeing what she's already done, and I just always do really well with organized people. I'm I'm like ADHD. I'm all over the place. And when I can be accountable to somebody, that's when I shine the best. And so many things have fallen into place to make this happen. It's incredible. And the timing, like Willow said, it postponing actually is better. And for me, I have this opportunity to do some online acting classes, which I'm in weekly classes now. And they're amazing. I just can't believe what I'm learning. And so I'll give them a little plug. Rogue Studios, they're out of British Columbia. And Lisa Ovies, who runs it, I met her at a convention a couple years ago, and we just fell in love and became best buddies, for that time, and have stayed in touch. And she's just another one of those amazing people that I've met, besides Willow, because of Manos, the Hands of Fate.
Nice. Okay, that's cool. And it's funny you mentioned cons, because I wanted to ask about that. If you do the con circuit when we're allowed to do cons.
Yes, I have, and I was supposed to do Pensacon this year. I've never been to Florida, but it was canceled, and just everything was
right.
Yeah, I definitely
but I'm actually busier now than I was before. It's just crazy. All of a sudden, all these projects. After we scheduled this one to film in the spring, I got invited into another indie film, and I'm actually playing the part of the alien. And it films in Idaho just a couple days when I'm done filming with Willow. So I'm going from Oregon, I'm going to California, and then I'm coming home for a day or two, and then going to Idaho.
Wow!
You gotta drop off. My Mike Mason back at his house, because you're pulling together.
Okay.
In my car. That's the other thing is my main co-star lives in Washington, just north of me, a couple hours. So he's going to drive down here, and then we'll travel together down to Willow's, which gives us a lot of rehearsal time.
Yeah, you're gonna know each other's parts inside and out.
We'll either love each other or hate each other.
Right.
Well, you're both very nice people. So, and the idea too is I like to hire nice, kind people, that I know won't be that guy on set. You know what I mean? So I'm really looking forward to having a fun experience for everybody. It's going to be intense. It's going to, be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of night shoots. Bring a blanket, but that's a philosophy I have on sets. I've been bullied myself, and it's just not productive. It's not helpful. So that's not how I run my sets. I want everybody to have a good time.
That's good, because you do hear those showbiz nightmare stories, and it's like, why? Like, the job should be the most fun you've ever had. I mean, of course, it's work too, but
Yeah, and it can get really stressful, and people can kind of just lose their stuff, and and I've seen that happen, and sometimes it's come at me, and I get it, but at the same time, it's like, look, we're living the dream, let's take it down a notch, and if no one is dying and nothing is on fire, then simmer down, and we'll get through this.
Yeah, take a breather, right? That's a good philosophy.
Go take a walk, come back, it's all fine.
So you, Willow mentioned you were a writer-producer for a long time, but you're also talking about how you run your sets. Do you also have a lot of directing experience?
I don't. I've directed just a tiny bit of stuff. This is, I mean, really, you could consider this my directorial debut. Sounds very fancy. But I've done some other small things. I've done some voice acting sessions with, Jackey did some of that, and then one part of one episode of Vintage America with Ginger, which is really my big dive straight into the pool situation of being a producer. I had another director for that, but I learned a lot on that show. We did 3 episodes. That's on Amazon Prime right now. But yeah, I soak up this stuff like a sponge, and I've had, like I say, a little bit of experience here and there, and I'm ready to go jump into the pool again in a different part of the pool.
Nice. That's awesome. I mean, with all the writing and producing you were doing, it'll probably be not too difficult to transition, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and I know everybody, and I know everybody's going to be pretty easy. I know everybody's got their little stuff, but I kind of have a plan for how to handle some of the stuff I know is probably going to come up. So, I'm confident. Feeling good.
Okay. And I know you have a teaser trailer out there for this.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys do that pre-quarantine? Did you manage to find time to get together in the last year?
That was a couple of years ago. Jackey went over to my cinematographer's house, and you wandered around on his roof for like 2 hours or something. How was that? It looks beautiful, though. I mean, tell me, Jackey, how did that go? He gave me exactly what I wanted to. Over the phone, I was like, here's what I want. I want her eyeball, and I want fire. And that's what he gave me.
Yeah, I thought it went really well, and I liked the way it came out, and I'm just really looking forward to filming, because I've learned so much more since then. And so if you like the teaser, then you're really going to like the show.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And that's another point too, is I specifically hired Pete in again because he gave me what I wanted. I've worked with him before on Vintage America, and he's a good friend. He'll listen, so I'm surrounding myself with good and experienced people, as opposed to like, I have got this and I hire a bunch of just knuckleheads and I don't got this. It's like, I'm ideally smart enough to hire in people that know what they're doing, so that it makes my job easier.
Yeah, and that's, from my understanding, kind of the job of the director is like, okay, you know how to do that, you go do that, and I hired you to do this, so you go do it.
Right, and I've done production coordination on features. I did one, time is a thing. It's like, what is time anymore? But I think it was last summer, summer before last, I was production manager on a feature in Ventura County that was a 3-week shoot. And then I was production coordinator on a $3 million feature for a while. And I ended up leaving that production because of the problems with bullying and all that. So I do have on-set experience. I do have coordination and management experience on it. So.
Sure. All right. So, Jackey, you said you're primarily an artist and you do some theater. So is this your first time stepping in front of a camera again for a while, or do you kind of dabble still?
No, actually, 4 or 5 years ago, we filmed Manos Returns, and I was I starred in it, but it was filmed here in my area, so I also did housing and food and
okay,
a whole lot of stuff, but location, the artwork. This is This is, I made this. This is out of cold rolled steel. I made it just the way my dad made the original.
Yep. Wait, so your dad was involved in the original movie?
My dad was the star of the original movie.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
cool.
he played the master. My mother made the costumes. Our Doberman, our dog, was in it. Our car was in it. I was in it. And yeah, you know, I was. Oh, my grandmother's handmade quilts.
Well, and your dad did a lot of the art too. He did the master painting and you know, the hands.
My dad did all the sets and the artwork. And
Oh, wow.
he
Okay.
made the original Torgo hand staff. And so I'm like my dad. I just do all kinds of different types of art. But oh, and then there was another failed sequel that never happened. But because of that, I met the director of photography, and I just met some amazing people. And Jay Lee, the director of photography, ended up the director of photography on a Bigfoot film. So I became like a location coordinator for this film called Primal Rage, made by Patrick McGee. He played the alien in Alien versus Predator, and he made the costumes for that film. So I got to meet him, 6'8".
Wow.
It was quite a conversation. And he brought his entire cast and crew up here, and they filmed in my backyard. My ex-husband, who's Native American, got to play the medicine man in my teepee. And I got to play a woman having cancer being taken out of her gut. My whole family was in it too, so that was fun. God, there's just all kinds of things. And then
Yeah, it's really interwoven. That's awesome.
the stage production of Manos, the Hands of Fate, which was a comedy in Portland a number of years ago. They found out that I lived within driving distance of Portland, so they invited me to be in the play. And in the original film, all the women's voices, including my child's voice, was dubbed by one woman. So 6, 7, 8, like 8 or 9 women plus the child. And so I got justice in the stage production because I got to play my own voice on the light booth, and my character is played by a doll on stage.
Okay.
She got tossed around and stuff.
Right. So you've played the same character in a variety of different ways, in a variety of different stories through the years. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but now since Willow, since we've done this and got it scheduled, just last week I was invited into another film that's being filmed in Idaho. Literally starts days after we're done filming hers. So I'm going from California with the Desert Chronicles, and then home to Oregon, and then to Idaho to film another movie that's not Manos related. And I actually get to play the part of the alien.
Of the what?
Alien?
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right. Okay. Very fun.
Yeah, lots of just. I'm open to all kinds of things.
Yeah, just try things out, see how it works.
And speaking of hands, I have another hand. Because Jackey makes these, right? And so what we're going to do is have this be the screen used hand that we're then going to use as a crowdfunding perk, so that someone can have the screen used hand from the production if they care to bid high enough. So
nice.
That hand is a replica of the one my dad made for the original, that the character of Torgo carried around.
Right.
On it. And
so it makes another appearance. It makes another appearance. That's a plot point. Is that basically a little bit of spoilers, a little teaser, is that Debbie has escaped and she's taken the staff with her, and they have a connection. So that'll be an interesting thing to explore.
So your the Debbie Chronicles, does it take into account the Manos from 5 years ago as well, or is it a direct sequel to the original?
No, completely
Directly
different story.
Yeah, it's a completely different story. It's in the same story world, but it's a different take on it. Like, I mean, you know, we've seen how many Spider-Man origin story movies now, right? It's like,
right.
it's kind of like that in that, you know, this is my story / our story, but it does take place in that story universe. I mean, you know, Torgo was a thing, the Master existed, you know, that, so, but yeah, and sequel, I mean, I know people want to use that word. I mean, I guess it kind of is. I mean, it does take place after the original, so I guess technically it's a sequel, but it's just such a different animal, you know, that
Okay.
it's like, yeah.
It's not a direct sequel, it's just another story in that world.
Well, I mean, it kind of is, though. I mean, we find out what happened to Debbie right after she escaped, and eventually we'll find out how she escaped, which is yeah, not a nice story at all. So
okay.
Yeah, there's much more to come.
And in Manos Returns, my film from a few years ago, that's the storyline of Debbie staying with the Valley Lodge for all these years, and now she's in charge. So she goes down the evil path. This is her going down a different path.
Right. So that's a good point. It's like the multiverse, right? It's like that moment happened. Now we're exploring all the different, you know, possibilities of what if this happened? What if that happened? Yeah.
Okay, that's a good way to describe it. That makes sense. I also wanted to ask about Seed and Spark, the site you're using to host your crowdfunding campaign. I'd never heard of that one. Is that more indie movie specific? Was there a reason to choose that one over another one? Like, I'm not trying to put down another site, but
yeah, we liked that it was very supportive of film. It is primarily for film, independent film, especially projects run by women. It's very friendly to that. So a lot of people that are interested in female filmmakers will tend to go there. You're funded you get the green light at 80%. So basically, if you only make 80% of your goal, you're still, you know, good to go. And their support's good. Yeah, their percentage is very, very small. Unlike some take a giant chunk, but this is like, I think it's like 5% or something. It's very small. Yeah. So yeah, there were a lot of reasons to it.
Okay. Are you finding that you have to do more of the heavy lifting on getting the word out about it compared to, say, like Kickstarter's almost like, it's like Kleenex, you know, people don't use tissues, they use Kleenex. People don't crowdfund, they kickstart. So are you finding that to be any kind of drawback, or do you find that with what you know and who you know, you can get the word out yourself?
Yeah, it's definitely been who we know. And I think that's true of Kickstarter too, right? I mean, I don't think that they have necessarily a PR branch where they're pushing stuff out. I mean, it's all word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
And we had Joel Hodgson tweeted us out, head geek of Mystery Science Theater 3000, the creator of that show, and that was a huge bump on that day. So yeah, fortunately Jackey knows him. So
yeah, perfect.
He wrote the foreword to my book. I wrote a book called "Growing Up with Manos: The Hands of Fate." How I was the child star of the worst movie ever made in this story. And I'm very proud to say it's 5 stars on Amazon. About the worst movie ever made.
Well, people should definitely go and check that out too, because from my understanding of the Manos fan base is if you're into it, you are into it. Like, you're all into it. So
yeah, you either get it or you don't, kind of, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, and originally, you know, having seen it on Mystery Science Theater, it's like, wow, what the heck? This is, you know, horrible. But when you think about the technological disadvantages they had, and how this guy had never made a movie before, you know, and never written a movie script before, it's like, it's kind of a miracle it happened at all. And
yeah, that he got it done.
That he got it done at all, and that it actually turned out as well as it did, considering, the hurdles this guy had to overcome. I mean, it's filming at night with giant lights, and there's mobs, coming for 3 counties over, and and everything's out of focus. And I'll tell you why everything's out of focus, because I mean, this is the viewfinder that the guy had access to. I mean, this is not the camera, but this is very, very similar to the model that he would have used. A Bell & Howell 16 millimeter, key wound, no sound. You get 30 seconds of film time out of one wind.
Get that scene.
Yeah, so if you can't see through this pinhole, and it doesn't do focus through this pinhole, it just tells you what is in frame.
Yeah.
Which is why so many shots are out of focus, because he didn't have this ring turned quite right. So it's like he actually did an okay job, and I admire that spirit.
Yeah, and I like that you're bringing that up, because, I mean, especially with the internet now, everyone's so cynical, and it's easy to see literally any movie and just make something trashing it, which, enough already. So it's interesting to talk about, like, no, it was not the best movie ever, but here's how he med it, here's how he got it made, and it kind of puts it all into perspective, which I like that you went into that.
Yeah, I have an appreciation for that. And Ed Wood is one of my favorite movies of all time, because I appreciate that heart and that spirit.
Yeah,
and now we have
determination.
Determination and what sacrifices had to be made, and and I'm not going to be filming on this camera, so we'll already look a lot better. I mean, the teaser trailer is again shot by the same guy who's our cinematographer, so it is going to look really beautiful. So
yeah. Jackie, you were going to say something?
I just wanted to interject that that Hal Warren, who wrote, produced, and directed this film, he got all his actors from the local community theater, the Festival Theater in El Paso, Texas. And that year, 1966-67, my father actually won the Best Actor Award for the year for playing the part of Henry IV. He always played the lead, He did R.P. McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He played he played King Arthur in Camelot. So he wasn't a bad actor.
No.
He just wasn't given the opportunity to do his best.
Right, he can only do so much, right?
Yeah, and even then, to my mind, he absolutely shines as this is actually like good stuff. He's kind of scenery chewing, but I mean, part of that is he's a priest, right? Mm-hmm. And the other part of that is the direction he wasn't given by Hal Warren, who didn't know what he was doing. So he did his darndest, and he also wrote that speech. So, Manos, thou of primal darkness, he wrote that.
Oh God. Oh, Manos, God of primal darkness. Yeah.
So, exceptional guy. I wish I'd met him. I actually never had the opportunity, and I really wish I had.
Oh, yeah, it's too bad it's for somebody who's helming another Manos movie.
But I'll say we did get him in Manos Returns.
Okay.
And I made the master's robe that he's wearing that my mother made in the original. In fact, I make them and I sell them. I custom made ones. I made one for a guy in England who was 6'8", and I made one for a woman in Georgia who was 4'11" or something.
So they're to measure.
Yeah, that's cool, because like we were saying, the people who are into these kind of cult classics, they're all into them. So having something that's even screen replica or not necessarily screen used is like they'd go nuts for it. Like, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to have to send a message over to my friend who I know loves this movie and be like, hey, you'll never guess who I just talked to. Check this thing out. And he'll probably order one of the hands or something if you're making those.
Well, and I recreated my dad's painting from the original.
Right.
And I sell prints. And then a few years ago, this guy contacted me and said, would you do a custom painting for me? So I painted the custom master and dog print or painting, but with Frank Zappa and his poodle. and now I sell those prints too. I'm a huge Zappa fan.
She's got an Etsy store, so look her up on Etsy.
Yeah, why don't you give everyone your Etsy store?
Yeah, I'll
And
send
then,
you my
and these two.
and that too. I have
Okay.
my dad
Nice.
signed a stack of those, and then he passed away. So
Yeah.
I still have some that I'm selling of those signed by both of us.
What was the Etsy store name?
It's Jackie's Manos, I believe.
People should look it up; they'll find it.
Yeah, but Jackie Naaman Jones on Etsy, and I know I'll turn up, and
Awesome.
I'll send you links and everything.
Oh yeah. If you email them over, I'll put them in the like the description of this, and when we promote it on social media, we'll put it in there too.
Great.
I know you guys have been making the rounds, so I don't want to eat up your whole day, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. Everyone should go to. Well, why don't you guys tell them where they can support it and your socials and the whole deal, anything you want to promote.
Yeah, well, I mean, the crawl on the bottom does it. We've got our seed park, which we have in our goal, but we have stretch goals, and we conclude. I think it's April 13th is the last day for that, and we've got some surprises, some add-ons. We have our line of Torgo and Debbie soaps and glittery candles. So you too can set Torgo on fire if you want to.
That's awesome.
And it smells wonderful, by the way. So, which is a weird thing to say. But so that's over on Pete Box Soapworks, that line. And Jackie's got her Etsy store. We're on Facebook and then Twitter, and that's really the extent of our stuff. We are rolling out. We're working on a website that is cultofmanos.org. That will be a live website where you can join the cult. And it'll be.
I love that it's a .org.
It is, right? And I'll see, because I'm a big fan of heroes, obviously. And so what they did was they had all these websites that were like the Yamagata Institute, and you could kind of dig through there and find secrets and cool stuff. And I'm kind of doing a light version of that with the Cult of Manos. There'll be some hidden things in there and some little goodies and Easter eggs. And speaking of Easter eggs, so I'm going to have some screen use props from the show heroes in the Debbie Chronicles. See if you can spot them.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. Well, thank you both again. I wish you the best of luck. It sounds like you're already doing good, so that's a nice leg up. But I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. That was fun.
Yeah, it was great talking with you. Oh, and I'll go check on my Etsy store and make sure I've got my book on there as well, because you can get it on Amazon, but if you want a personalized and signed copy, you can get it directly from me.
Oh, yeah, very smart. Good plug, yeah. Great. Well, thanks again. Take it easy.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having us.
I wanted to thank Jackey Jones and Willow Polson one more time for coming on the show to talk to us about the Debbie Chronicles, Manos, the Debbie Chronicles. As they mentioned, there is a crowdfunding campaign going on for this right now. Manos Hands of Fate is a cult classic. Obviously, we all love the B-movie aspect of it. We all love the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode on it. So I think it's cool to support them in this new endeavor in that world, and they're going to have a lot of fun with it. Please remember to listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week wherever you get your podcasts. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, videos, merchandise, and more. So Wizard Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get multiple monthly bonus shows for it. And before I forget, since I'm always doing this out of order, please remember to subscribe to our channel. A lot more interviews, a lot more new movie coverage coming your way. You're not going to want to miss out. We love hearing feedback, so drop us a note in the comments, leave us something on social media. All the accounts will be found after the show and in the show notes. And on a more personal note, a friend and I released a comic in January of this year, Social Studies. It's a look at the high school experience through the twisted prism of the 90s cartoons that we grew up on. We're releasing an issue a month for the whole first chapter, putting them together in a trade with a ton of extra features, and then going right on chapter 2. We have a ton of issues out already. Well, 4 out already. A lot more coming. We have a lot done, just waiting to be released. So please, if you could spare a minute, check it out at socialstudiescomic.com. Thanks.